So it's great for interviews, but it also works really well for solo when you just don't want to be wired to something.
So this last week there were a number of new Rode devices announced, and it got us to thinking about Rode products in general, and I think we've all had some experience with them. So we thought we'd just have a little bit of an episode talking about our experience with Rode products and the previous ones, but also what we're excited about in terms of the new ones just announced. So perhaps we can start off with our experiences of the current lineup of products. So how about you, Dina? How have you been using Rode products so far, and if so, how, and if not, why not?
I've been using Rode, the Rode Wireless Go 2 for, I guess it's been about 1.5 years now, and I've got a kitchen stream, so I'm on the move, and yeah, I needed something so I could cook, have hands-free, be able to move from the sink to the stove to the counter, and the Rode Wireless Go has been fantastic for me. I also use it when I go to dog shows and we do interviews of various breeders who've been in the game for a long time. So I kind of take it both ways, in the kitchen here and on the dog show right.
That's cool. I think, a lot of people think about the wireless devices as being something more for, kind of when you're outside potentially and, doing things like the interviews and that. But you've got a really great sort of studio setup for it as well, studio use case. And I guess they're sort of thinking about that as well with having the wireless Go's being able to pair with the Rodecaster as well for sort of in studio use. That's a pretty cool use case you've got there. And how do you find them in terms of the actual connectivity of them, and have you ever had any issues in that respect with them when you've been using them in the studio, in the kitchen?
I've had some issues, yes. We went through a period where it sounded like a mixtape, or not a mixtape, excuse me, like somebody was sampling or something. I'd get all jittery and you'd hear the sound a few times, but basically, I'd just reset everything, and we never really root caused it. I didn't put a lot of energy into it. Just moved on. Once it started working, I didn't mess with it again.
And how were you doing the other end of that? So where on the receiver, how was that connected into your computer? What sort of interface did you have to get from the receiver into your computer?
The receiver into the computer is Type-C into the receiver, and then Type-C into my Mac.
And that's just a live stream then, is it, from the receiver that way?
Right. So it's here at the desk, and then I'm wearing it with a lav plugged into it.
Right.
Over there. Yeah. And then I've also used it directly on the camera, like when I'm out in the garden. Sometimes I'll do it that way when I'm just recording something. I definitely use it connected to my phone a lot. So there is what is that, TRRS, you know which one, the 2 rings, right. The 2-ring setup. And I actually like it quite a bit. I love the adaptability to be able to have somebody else on mic. I've had that here in the studio, and like I said, we do that at dog shows. So it's great for interviews, but it also works really well for solo when you just don't want to be wired to something, or can't be, in my case.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Michelle? What's your experience with Rode products so far?
Well, originally I had one of the little shotgun mics that went onto my original DSLR. So that was my introduction into the Rode, atmosphere. And then I got an RCP1, which I still have. And I've loved it. It does what it needs to do for me. Currently in my studio, I have multiple mics set up. So depending on which seat I'm sitting at, if I'm sitting here at the main part, there's a mic here, there's a mic on the opposite side of this table, and they're all coming into my my RCP1. I use my touch pads on my RCP1 for my background music. It's all loaded with all of my usual music beds that I kind of put behind my stream. and then just being able to like control the volumes and stuff like that with the, with the triggers on there, I kind of really like that. That's pretty much the only thing that I have right now. However, I've been really, really looking at the new wireless Me, and I'm thinking I might be adding that to my repertoire, because sometimes, you think of stuff and you want to do stuff on the fly, and sometimes the only thing you have is your phone. But I do have a mobile setup for my phone, but I don't want to have to take a big mic. So, I've been really buzzing with all of the new stuff that's coming out. So trying to make sure that I can justify the gas that's about to happen.
They're pretty affordable. Those ones are, not to enable you even more to enable the gas.
Right.
But,
that part. Yeah. So, I keep telling myself, oh my goodness. So I'm getting my husband in on the whole thing too. I'm like, oh, look at this. See, look, it's very reasonable. If you see it in the house, don't say anything, because I didn't spend that much money.
And how about you, Rob? How's your experiences been so far?
I started with a Rodecaster Pro 1. And that had been beside me for, I guess, over a year. And it worked really well. I liked it a lot. It probably was a little overkill initially for what I did. I've taken that down, and I now have a portable kit for podcasting that I've started to go out and either record for myself or record for others. That's got the Rodecaster Pro 1 and then 4 Rode pod mics and some other accessories. So that's in a case. I can grab that and I can go. And I replaced the RCP1 next to me, which is on I'm pointing over here for some reason that nobody can see, but I've got an RCP2 on an arm over here. Now, that said, my use of the RCP1 was much more pleasurable than it is for the RCP2. There's just little quirks and problems with the RCP2 that I've been having that manifests itself in little gremlins. And I think part of it is, it's because it's mounted on a VESA mount, and there's a screw in the back that has been problematic with the touchpads. Mm-hmm. And so if I change over to the sound pads to activate some of the sound pads without doing anything at all, the Rodecaster Pro 2 will start playing a sound. And that's a problem. And what happened in our last recording is that that happened where it switched on one of those robot voices that they have built in. And so when I recorded this last episode for us, and I sent the file off to Rich, my whole audio was in robot voice. So it's probably the way I get it set up, because the difference between the RCP1 and the RCP2, connecting it in and setting it up, interfacing with the Mac, are pretty much, at least for me, two different things. It was a little bit more stressful to put the RCP2 in because of how it was set up, and it wasn't working straight out of the box. And I think it pulled an Alec in. I might have pulled in Doc in to just kind of talk me through the short. Oh, that's what I did. Duh. I watched a Tom video, and he talked me through one of the other problems with it too. So, when you buy these things, they're fine, they're good. I have no, I know that Rode is a good brand, so I'm kind of hoping that if I loosen the screw and upgrade the software in the near future, that particular little gremlin will go away. So I'm all for Rode products, but for right now, I was much more happy on the RCP1 for my studio than the RCP2.
I think one of the big differences between the two of them as well is that the RCP2 is doing a lot of stuff with basically onboard software routing. So although it's a hardware device, there's still a lot going on in the the firmware really. So like it's not as hardwired in terms of, the Rodecaster 1 has got the dedicated channels that is, audio's coming in here and it's going out there. Whereas, I gather that with the RCP2, because you can switch all the audio routing round, mix, change thing from one fader to another. There's a lot that's going on in basically code. So there's issues there. I had the same issue that you did with the smart pads though. And for me, it's the second one up on the left-hand side of the bank of smart pads when it was on a VESA mount. At certain angles as well, it seemed. And for me, it was just happened to be the one that was pre-programmed with crickets. So occasionally the crickets would come on. So I actually just don't use that button now because of that thing. So it is a bit weird. I guess it's something to do with, not that it's excusable, but it's something to do with like the screws in the back, just making some connection between some contact or something like that. Who knows? But yeah, I had
it's the exact same problem
thing.
I have. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you took the sound off of that button entirely? You just blanked it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Better safe than crickets.
It's interesting you guys are having problems with the mount, because when I got my RCP1, I have it mounted with a VESA mount situation, but it's on a I'm looking at it right now. It's on a laptop mount, and the laptop mount has the VESA mount behind it, so it's sitting on top of that, and it's been like that since I bought it. So I've been able to do essentially what the RCP2 can do, without having to have that backing underneath it. And so, you know what, I'm kind of glad that if I did do it, if I did get a 2, I would have did it the same way, because I kind of like the way it looks. However, that was the reason why I decided to kind of wait, because I kind of wanted to see what was going on with it first. Because I remember when it first came out, everybody was selling their RCP1s like it was like hot crap on the street, So I was like, nah, I'm gonna wait and see how this looks, see how this works, and see what the what the glitches are. And then I started seeing all the stuff come in about, oh, this doesn't work, or that doesn't work, or I need to figure out what's going on with it. And so I was like, yeah, mine works. My RCP1 works. I love it. I don't have any of those issues, and I'm not in a hurry to get a 2. I might get that little small one though, the new one that's coming out, so I can have with my little mobile setup. But I'm not in a hurry to change to a 2 anytime soon.
And how about you, Rich? What's your experience been with the Rodecaster, or indeed any other Rode devices?
The only thing I have this Rode is a Rodecaster Pro 1, and it's fine. It does exactly what I needed to do. I was on a Scarlett, I think, a little 2, or maybe I was also on a Behringer, some kind of 4-channel thing, and those were always, I never could get them right. But this is lovely. I mean, it works like a champ. I would be interested in getting a 2 or even one of those duos, but I don't really have a need for it because everything works fine the way it is. I just leave it set up all the time. It's on one of those little shelves like Michelle was talking about, a little laptop shelf. It works great the way it is.
And how about you, Keely?
Yeah, I'm probably the one person here that has no Rode products whatsoever right now. I did have a Rodecaster Pro 1 back in the day and went through the whole thing, setting it up and learning how to use XLR. And my main mic is this Shure MV7 that has both the XLR and USB outputs, and switched to XLR and did the whole thing and used that for a few months, and then realized I don't need all of this stuff. And the sheer size of having the 4 XLR inputs into the Rodecaster Pro and all the sound pads that I didn't use because I used them on my Stream Deck and all that, it just seemed so unnecessary. As soon as I saw the Streamer X, though, that's when I started going, ooh, because it's small, it's cute, it's pretty, and it's not overkill. So I'm trying to decide what might be useful about that in my setup. And what I can see is the ability to use my MV7 through XLR and take advantage of the processing that it can do. So I might get better sound out of it than I do with the USB Shure Motive software that I'm using right now. But the one thing is the USB is the audio channel routing that you've been taking advantage of so much, Alec. And So that's the one thing that if I find out once it's released, that it allows me to very easily channel my audio when I'm simultaneously on a YouTube stream via Ecamm and then in a Discord voice channel, that'll be worth the money for me right there. But that's the only thing that I can see that I would need it for is just that. Everything else, I've got a great setup. Everything works. And yeah, it's interesting how we were all brought into the creator world. We were birthed into this environment where we all had to like gas like crazy. And now we're all a little bit more, set in our processes and our ways. And although we kind of go, woo, as soon as something's released, we also have the ability to measure against what we're actually producing and say, I don't actually need that. So there you go. That's where my thoughts are right now.
It's funny when Michelle mentioned the on-camera mic. I'd actually completely forgotten that was the first Rode thing that I bought, the Rode Video Mic Go, when I was trying to record videos, and that wasn't really a great mic to be using for that, but recording my course material for my other stuff that I was doing before I got into Ecamm and all of that kind of stuff. So actually my first Rode thing was a Video Mic Go that is in a bag somewhere. I haven't used it for quite a while because I'm not going out anywhere. But then the same as you, Keely, I was with my MV7 for months really on my channel, just using purely the USB from the MV7 into my computer. I didn't see the need for a Rodecaster for a long time, but it was really when the 2 came out with all of its audio routing and the multiple USB channels with mix minus. I wouldn't have a Rodecaster 1 with just the single channel, but for the 2, being able to have those 3 separate channels, so I can have Ecamm on one, Zoom on another, Discord on another, or my live stream on another, whichever it is that I'm doing at the time. I really just love that. It feels like it was built for something other than podcasting, which obviously the one was for originally, but also not just for streaming. So having those 3 channels was a bit of a game changer, really. So I've really enjoyed using it. I'm not a big user of the smart pads. I don't tend to have too many, sound effects or things like that. I guess I only really used it for my my podcast intro music when I'm recording my live podcast to sort of fade that in and out, and then just usually strip that out and replace it if I do the sort of edit down for the YouTube version of it. So I don't tend to use that much, but it is all about the routing. But that was really why I was so surprised and excited about the new stuff, because of the Rodecaster Duo, which somebody mentioned in the comments of one of my other videos about it and said, why have they dropped the Pro branding on that? Because essentially it is still a Rodecaster Pro, it's just only got 2 inputs. And I would kind of agree with that. The thing that makes the Rodecaster Pro a Pro device is all of the routing, all of the advanced audio processing, and all of that kind of stuff. So it almost feels like it's a Rodecaster Pro Duo, really, with just 2 inputs. And it almost feels like it's built for really my use case and the clients that I tend to work with, who have generally got maybe 1 or 2 mics, but then want all of that audio routing stuff. So that is the thing that I'm sort of most excited about out of all the new stuff that's come out, the little compact version of the Rodecaster. So I'm really looking forward to that one. How about you, Dina, though? What have you made of the new announcements? And is there anything that is of major interest to you out of all the new products?
I'm good right now. I forgot that I also have the NTG mic that I take to dog shows when I'm announcing dog shows. And that's what I love about the Rode products that I've got, is I really don't need to upgrade yet. They have a solid base, and I haven't seen the need. But if Rode is listening, I would really love a screw-on connection for the lav on the Wireless Go 2. But I know you can't just change that now, because one of the things that happens is I wear it in my pocket and I'm moving around so much in the kitchen that connection pops out quite often. So that is one thing that draws me to a deity sometimes is... I need to, if I know I'm going to be moving a lot, I'll wear the Deity mic instead. But I do prefer the Rode Wireless Go 2.
And how about you, Michelle? I know you've mentioned a couple of the things, but is it the wireless Me's that are the big thing for you, or are you looking at any of the other stuff as well?
The wireless Me for sure. two sets, one for my husband, one for me. And then maybe the Streamer X, because it's small, and compact, that I could, if I wanted to do something away from the studio, I'd have all the trappings of home, but I can take it with me. This footprint is kind of small, and I like that because it's so nice to be able to, to be able to do what I need to do when I'm not here. Because, sometimes inspiration hits and you never know when it hits. It usually hits me while I'm driving to work, or when I'm someplace where I'm trapped and I can't go anywhere, but I always have my phone with me. So it's like, oh, wow. And I know the car is a really good place to record. So, if I had all my stuff with me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm here for a minute. Let me go ahead and just get this thought out. Now it's recorded, and it's recorded as though I were in my studio. I just happen to be in my car, but I'm in my studio. I have all the trappings of home. So yeah, I'm looking to do those two things.
Nice. And how about you, Rob? Are you taken by any of the new stuff?
To answer your question, no, nothing really kind of caught my eye. Normally, I drop from NAB and I would look at all the products and be really happy, and whatever else. I've got what I need right now, and so any gear acquisition syndrome I might have has I've been able to fight off for a while, and I will continue to do so. I've just got to focus on learning the equipment that I have, and I have a few other Rode products. And I like them and I want to use them, but I don't have any desire to buy anything new. I've got what I need.
What about you, Rich?
I would entertain a Duo, and I would entertain a wireless setup. However, that's just wishing. I don't really need either one of those.
Yeah, the Duo, I mean, I've said it already, but it is in a real sweet spot, I think, for people who've got just one or two mics, but then still having all of that advanced audio routing. So if ever you need any gas enablement, give me a shout.
Well, it's just for the small space. I keep wanting to set up a studio at home. You guys know I'm at an office here, and it's inconvenient to just plop down and record something because I have to get in the car and come up here. So I would like to set up something there. I've got a couple of extra ZV-1s. I've got, it would just be easy if I had a little audio thing over there to do it. So I may do that, or I may not. We'll see if I win a contest. Maybe not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Somebody giving away something?
Links in the description, of course.
Oh.
Keeley, though, the Streamer X, I mean, you mentioned about that. One thing that we haven't sort of mentioned as well is the fact that has got an HDMI input as well. Is that something that you would use to sort of replace your capture card as well? It's a nice little feature that it's got.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I thought about. And again, it's sort of, I'm really trying not to buy things that replicate or duplicate the functions that are already being served in my setup. But I could sell that cam link on to someone else. That reduces the number of USB connections I have going in, which could then extend the life of the current docks that I'm using, because, I have a MacBook Pro and I'm always trying not to add more things so that I'm filling up the docks that I have and running out of space. And it's that eternal juggling act of being able to add more functionality. So I do see that. But one of the interesting things about when new products come out is that, I think Rich was saying or Rob, about learning how to use what you already have, is that, they talked about the Rode PodMic USB being able to go directly into an iPhone. And I don't remember what the acronym is. Alec, you probably know exactly what it is, that says that it's made for iPhone and can plug directly into an iPhone and be used in its format. Well, I was like, I wonder if the Shure MV7 can do that. And so I grabbed a dongle. We've all got dongles coming out of our dongles here. And so I grabbed a dongle and used a USB-A to a USB-C connector and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, got my MV7 into my iPhone, and it said, oh, you need the Shure Motive app on your iPhone. in order to use this. And I was like, oh, okay. Downloaded that. And as I'm installing that, it says, oh, if you want to record video, you can. So literally by seeing that there are these great features of another brand new microphone, I uncovered features that I didn't know about in the existing technology I already have. Because I thought, oh, that might be a useful feature. But I don't need to buy anything new in order to do that thing in my current setup. So that's kind of the neat and challenging thing. And maybe the anti-gas, maybe that's that's the medication for gas, is to actually look into the features, see what you already have, delve into the manual, and see whether you can do the same thing with what you already have.
I've used the MV7 on my phone as well, and I've got a video about it, of course. But it always feels weird having a mic like that plugged into the phone. It's kind of odd. But that's a good point, though, about the parity now between the MV7 and the PodMic USB. Because when I was looking for my this microphone, the MV7, I was looking for something that had the dual connections, and there was this one. There was another couple of ones, but not the same sort of necessarily the same sort of size or type or anything like that. And so it was very limited in terms of the options that you've got for something that's got the dual connections. So it is interesting to see the PodMic now has got the USB and XLR, and actually the price point is, I think it's $199 versus the MV7, which is $249. So it's interesting that they've brought it down to that level, and also you do get all of the the onboard processing and stuff like that, which by all accounts looks to be more full featured than the Motive. Not that I would necessarily swap this out, because I'm really happy with the Shure, so that's not the issue. But it's just interesting to see that they've now got a really strong competitor, and how that's going to work, from a price point of view. It's also interesting that, obviously now there's the HDMI into the Streamer X. It's kind of like Rode dipping their toe into the video market. And I just wonder, what more there is to come in that respect. Is there going to be further things down the line? And it's also interesting that, given that it is a device for streamers, Streamer X, and part of the thing of the HDMI input is that it's got a pass-through, so that if you are capturing your gameplay, then you can have your monitor cable coming into that and then passing through, going out to your screen, but then you're capturing the video from that. It's almost like, why didn't they put an extra one? One for camera and then one for the pass-through, if that's the use case, because they're still going to require, if they're using it for the gameplay, they're still going to require a separate dongle for their camera potentially. So it'd be interesting to see just where this goes in terms of what they build out, in terms of video, and is ATEM and Blackmagic going to have another competitor on their hands as well?
I was thinking about how the pass-through could be used for using Discord and streaming that out and having dual sort of video inputs and sharing that around. That could be really, really useful. So if I can wrap my head around how that works, that might be the other reason that I would look at a Streamer X.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would totally use it for bringing in a separate computer.
As we bring up these use cases, who knows? That might be something that, comes down the pipe. So, they listen to us and they do what the consumers want. So who knows? We may have some other things to pick from in the future. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Get those feature requests in. And who's excited about the bag, the Rodecaster bag?
Oh my God, the bag is so cool.
From a merch perspective, that's the worst idea in the world, to put a big fat logo of something expensive on the outside of a bag. That is not a good move. It's smart. I mean, it's smart to brand with, but you sit around an airport and somebody says, oh, he's got a $700 piece of equipment in that bag. Let's knock him over the head and take it.
Well, it's better than carrying around a bag with like a giant red whistle on it. That's me though.
Hey now.
Somebody might think Keeley's in that bag.
In which case everybody's going to back away very slowly. Oh, no, thank you.
So it's been really interesting week in terms of the announcements, and I'm sure we'll be coming back with some feedback once some of us actually get these things in our hand to try them out. But I know that the Rodecaster is certainly a sort of a mainstay of a lot of people in the community. So I'm really pleased to see that there is a lot of development going on with it, and there's new products coming out from Rode. So until the next time, keep creating.
Thanks for hopping on to our Creators Pod. If you enjoyed it, we'd love if you would subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and tell a friend about it. Seriously, tell a friend. Check out the video version of our podcast on our YouTube channel, The Creators Pod. The Creators Pod is produced by C22 Media, Alec Johnson, Dina Taylor, Keely Dunn, Michelle Lawrence, Rich Graham, and me, Rob Valls. Thanks.
Keep it classy, Creators Pod. Keep it classy.